All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're going to try to get to the bottom of Dell's decision to, well, end their hybrid work policy and require everyone back in the office full time, if they live near a Dell office, that is.
Right.
So, to help us unpack this, we've got a great article from Fortune magazine.
Okay.
And, as always, a mountain of social media commentary.
Sounds good.
Mostly from Reddit this time.
Right.
And the big question here is, Dell is a tech company, right?
Right.
They kind of built their empire on making it easier for people to work from anywhere. So why on earth are they pushing for everyone to be back in the office? It just seems like counterintuitive.
It does seem to contradict, what they're known for.
Yeah, like their whole brand is built around this idea of enabling remote work. And now they're like, nope, everyone back in the office.
Yeah, their CEO, Michael Dell, he's actually claiming that nothing is faster than the speed of human interaction.
Really?
Even with all the tech we have today. He's basically saying, like, a quick conversation can replace, a whole bunch of emails back and forth.
Okay, but is that just, like, a sales tactic? I mean, are they just trying to sell more of their remote work technology by first making their employees miserable working remotely? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, but seriously.
Uh-huh.
The Fortune article says they're ending the hybrid policy starting March 3rd.
Oh,
So anyone near an office has to be there full time.
gotcha.
They did say that remote work will still be an option
Right.
for those who live far away from a Dell office.
I see.
So at least there's that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They were actually pioneers in this area.
Oh, really?
Like, way before the pandemic, they were offering remote work options.
Interesting.
So it really is a complete 180 for them.
Wow. So what's really going on here? Is it really all about efficiency, like Michael Dell's saying?
Yeah, it's
Hard to say for sure.
Or could there be other factors at play?
Right. Like maybe.
What?
Well, some people are saying maybe pressure from commercial landlords. Oh, yeah.
They've lost a ton of money because of empty office spaces.
That makes sense.
So maybe they're pushing companies to bring everyone back.
Yeah. Yeah, those empty buildings are a pretty big sign that things have changed.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of money at stake.
Oh, definitely.
But, okay, what about the argument that in-person work is actually more productive? Like, is there any truth to that?
Well, some companies are saying they've seen a productivity boost since mandating a return to the office.
Right.
But other experts, like Laszlo Bock, he was a bigwig at Google.
Oh,
He argues that actually a well-managed hybrid model
okay.
can be even more productive.
Really?
He talks about structured flexibility.
What's that?
It's basically like employees come together for specific things like brainstorming, team building,
Okay.
but also have the freedom to work remotely when it fits their needs.
So it's all about finding the right balance.
Right.
That sounds like it takes a lot of trust from the employer, though.
Absolutely. For it to work, companies need to shift their focus
To what?
from controlling where employees work to measuring, what they actually achieve.
Oh, I see.
It's about setting clear goals, and giving employees the freedom to figure out how to get there.
So it's less about butts and seats and more about results.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that.
But that means a big cultural shift for a lot of companies,
Yeah.
especially the ones that are like really traditional and hierarchical,
Sure, for sure.
It's not just about changing policies. It's about changing the whole mindset.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Companies need to embrace trust and autonomy, and that can be hard for organizations that are used to micromanaging.
Okay, so speaking of micromanaging,
Yeah.
let's look at these Reddit comments.
All right.
Because there's a lot of skepticism about Dell's motives here.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like one user used Steve Jobs called CEOs economic leeches.
Wow.
He thinks they're totally out of touch with how technology actually works.
Strong words.
I know, right? But it does seem like there's this feeling among some employees that this push to return to the office is more about control than productivity.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like they just want to keep a tighter leash on their employees.
Right.
And it's not just about, like, surveillance,
Yeah.
Some comments were worried about the social and psychological impact of being forced back into the office.
Like, the pandemic made a lot of people reevaluate their priorities.
Yeah.
Remote work gave them a sense of like autonomy and flexibility. Having to give that up can really mess with morale, and that affects productivity too.
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
Amazing.
And then there's the financial hit for employees.
Right.
Commuting costs are insane now, and, remote work meant saving money on childcare, gas, lunch, everything everything.
It all adds up.
So could this lead to people leaving Dell? Like, if they're not willing to be flexible, will they lose good employees to companies who are?
It's definitely a risk, especially in tech, where remote work is the norm.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange that Dell is praising in-person interaction when their whole industry is moving in the opposite direction.
I know, right? It's like they're saying one thing and doing another.
That's what some Reddit users are saying, too.
Really?
Like You Fragrance Spray pointed out that Dell sells all this tech for effective remote work, but then they can't seem to make it work themselves.
Right. It's like, hey, buy our stuff so you can work from anywhere, but we're going to be stuck in the office.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mixed message.
Okay, but to be fair, there were a few comments that defended Dell's decision.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Lockeye79, he just straight up said in-person communication is faster, and sometimes you just need that face-to-face to get things done.
I mean, he has a point.
Right.
There's no denying that a quick chat can sometimes be way more efficient than a bunch of emails.
Totally.
But does that justify forcing everyone back into the office full time?
Exactly. And some people, like Reasonable Rain 7474, said they actually liked going into the office sometimes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for focused projects, you know?
I can see that.
They felt like being in the office helped them avoid distractions and collaborate better.
So it sounds like it's not necessarily black and white, right?
Right.
Different types of work might benefit from different environments.
Exactly. And for some people, that hybrid model, a mix of in-person and remote, might be the sweet spot.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah, but it seems like Dell's being pretty inflexible with this mandate.
True.
Like no room for individual preferences or anything.
Yeah, that rigidity might backfire,
How so?
Well, like you saw March 63 said, it could lead to a talent drain.
Meaning?
People might leave for companies that offer more flexibility.
Makes sense.
And then there's the potential for pushback from employees.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
One commenter, Lama Station, said that if Dell wants everyone in the office, then all work should stop outside of office hours.
Like a protest.
Yeah. No more answering emails after hours. No working on weekends.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement.
It is, but it shows how much resentment there can be
Yeah.
when people feel like their autonomy is being threatened.
And then there were some comments that were just hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Like Uga Zermal said they still Skype the person who sits 3 cubicles away.
Oh, my God.
It's like, what's the point of even being in the office if you're just going to communicate through screens anyway?
Right.
And then there was William Burroughs 420 who was lamenting the loss of coding in pajamas while enjoying certain extracurricular activities.
Oh, hey, no judgment here.
Exactly. But it does bring up the whole work-life balance issue, right?
For sure.
For some people, remote work was a huge improvement for their work-life balance.
Absolutely.
And taking that away could have a real impact on their well-being.
Yeah, it's not just about where we work. It's about how work fits into our lives overall.
Right. And it seems like Dell's decision has really opened up a can of worms,
It's definitely a complex issue with lots of different angles.
We've got the productivity debate, the control issue, the hypocrisy angle, the potential for people leaving Dell.
And the broader societal implications, too.
Yeah, like what does this all mean for the future of work?
It's a big question.
But that's what these deep dives are all about, right?
Exactly.
We're not telling you what to think.
No.
Just giving you the information and insight so you can form your own opinion.
Critical thinking is more important than ever.
Okay, so before we move on, I want to go back to Dell's whole argument about human interaction.
Right.
Like, do you think they have a point?
Well, as we've seen, it's a lot more complicated than that.
Okay.
There's no doubt that face-to-face communication is powerful.
Yeah.
It builds trust, rapport, and it can spark creativity in a way that's hard to replicate online.
Yeah.
But it's not a magic solution. And ignoring the benefits of technology and just romanticizing the past, that's a slippery slope.
Especially for a tech company like Dell.
Exactly. It just doesn't add up.
It seems like they're contradicting themselves.
Yeah, and ultimately it's the employees who get caught in the middle.
Yeah, that's true.
So if Dell is really committed to continually evolving, like they claim, will they actually cut back on their remote work technology development?
Good question.
Or will they keep doing this, saying one thing and doing another?
Yeah. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It'll be interesting to watch.
For sure. This whole thing really makes you think.
It does. It goes way beyond just Dell.
Yeah.
It's a question for all of us,
Like, what does the future of work look like?
Exactly. Will we see more hybrid models?
Will in-person interaction make a comeback?
Will technology keep changing how we work?
It's exciting and a little scary at the same time.
I know, right?
But hey, that's the world we live in, right?
And it's up to us to figure it out.
So what are your thoughts? Have you seen a similar push for a return to the office in your industry? It's definitely a hot topic everywhere you look.
It is, and I think it's really interesting how this whole debate, it brings up these bigger questions about what work even is these days.
Yeah, it's not just about where you do it.
Right. It's about autonomy, flexibility.
Like you're saying earlier, it's about trust.
Exactly. And it seems like Dell might be missing the mark on that front.
Yeah.
Their message is all about face-to-face being better.
Right.
But what about all the technology they sell to make remote collaboration easier?
Like what?
Well, they have things like Dell EMC Unity.
What's that?
It's for data storage and management
Okay.
in hybrid cloud environments.
Got it.
And then there's Dell Technologies Cloud. It lets businesses manage their IT stuff across public and private clouds.
So are they saying their own products are no good?
That's what it sounds like.
It's like they're saying remote work is great, but also it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a bit strange.
Maybe they just haven't thought it through, you know?
Maybe.
Or maybe they think their customers won't notice the contradiction.
It's possible.
But it makes you wonder about their long-term strategy.
Right. If they really believe in-person is best,
Yeah,
shouldn't their products reflect that?
I see your point.
Why invest so much in tech that makes remote work easier?
So maybe they'll, like, scale back on their remote work tech development.
Maybe, but that seems risky.
In what way?
Well, there's a huge demand for flexible work arrangements now.
Yeah, that's true.
And like we saw in those Reddit comments, people don't want to give up the autonomy they gained during the pandemic.
Right, right.
So Dell might be underestimating how important that is to employees.
It's like they're trying to go back to how things were before.
Exactly. But the world has changed.
Yeah,
Employee expectations have changed.
for sure.
And companies need to adapt, or they'll have a hard time finding and keeping talent.
It's like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
Once it's out, it's out.
The genie is out of the bottle.
Exactly. People won't just go back to the old way of doing things.
Nope, the pandemic changed everything.
Okay, so let's talk about those Reddit comments again.
Right.
We already mentioned Lammas Station's idea about, only working during office hours.
Right, the malicious compliance approach.
Exactly.
It's a classic way to point out how ridiculous a policy is.
Yeah, and then there were some other gems.
Like what?
Well, Uganimal said they still Skype the person who sits 3 cubicles away.
Oh, come.
I know, right?
Like, why even bother coming into the office?
Right.
If you're just going to communicate through screens anyway.
And then there's William Burroughs 420 missing his coding in pajamas time.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny, but it also highlights how important work-life balance is.
Absolutely. Remote work gave a lot of people more freedom and flexibility.
Yeah, and taking that away could really impact their well-being.
It's about more than just productivity.
Right.
It's about creating a work environment that supports people's overall well-being.
So it seems like Dell has stirred up a hornet's nest with this decision.
For sure. It's a really complex issue.
We've got the productivity debate, the control issue, the hypocrisy, the potential for people to leave, the societal implications.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, and there are no easy answers.
But by looking at all these different perspectives, we can start to understand what's going on.
And hopefully make more informed decisions ourselves.
Exactly, because there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Well said.
So to our listeners out there, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, have you noticed a similar push for a return to the office in your own industry?
We'd love to hear your experience.
Because this is a conversation that affects all of us.
It really does. And it's important that we keep talking about it.
All right, so before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Dell says they're continually evolving our business to best serve their customers and partners.
Right.
But if faster human interaction is really the key to that evolution, like Michael Dell claims, what does that mean for their investment in all these remote work technologies?
That's a good question.
It seems like there's a disconnect between what they're saying and what they're doing.
There does seem to be a bit of a contradiction there.
On the one hand, they're pushing for everyone to be back in the office.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're providing the tools to make remote work easier.
It's like they're trying to have it both ways.
Yeah. Maybe they see a future where in-person and remote work can coexist.
It's possible.
Like certain tasks are better suited for the office, while others can be done remotely.
A hybrid model, like we were talking about.
Exactly. But wouldn't that require a huge cultural shift for Dell?
Definitely. They'd have to move away from presenteeism.
Meaning?
The idea that you have to be seen in the office to be valued.
Ah, got it.
You have to focus more on results.
Rather than just hours worked.
Exactly.
But that's a big change for a company like Dell.
It is. They've always been very hierarchical.
Yeah.
And control-oriented.
So it seems like a lot of their employees are skeptical.
I can understand why.
They see this return to office thing as a step backwards.
Yeah, like Dell is out of touch with how people want to work now.
Right. And those concerns are valid.
Definitely Dell needs to address them.
Not just with words, but with actions.
Exactly. They need to show that they're serious about creating a work environment that supports both productivity and well-being.
Maybe they should start by actually using their own remote work tech more.
Lead by example.
Yeah, that would show they trust their employees to be productive.
No matter where they're working.
And it would get rid of that hypocrisy that so many people pointed out.
Right. The feeling that they're saying one thing but doing another.
Actions speak louder than words, right?
Always.
So I guess we'll see what Dell does.
It's a wait-and-see situation.
But this whole thing has given us a lot to think about.
Definitely. It's relevant to everyone.
Yeah, not just Dell employees.
No matter where you work or what industry you're in.
The pandemic changed everything.
It really did.
And we're all still figuring out what that means for the future of work.
We're all part of shaping that future.
So to our listeners, don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Speak up for what you need.
And explore new ways of working.
The future of work is what we make it.
Well said.
So what does the ideal work environment look like to you?
Yeah, how can we create a future of work that's productive and fulfilling for everyone?
These are the questions we need to be asking.
And we're excited to continue this conversation with you all.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive.
It's definitely everywhere you look, this whole return to office thing.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah, and it makes you think about, like, what does work even mean now?
Yeah.
It's not just the place, right?
It's so much more.
It's autonomy, it's flexibility. Like we were saying, it's trust.
And it seems like Dell might be missing that,
What do you mean?
Well, they're so focused on face-to-face being better, but they sell all this technology for remote work.
Right.
Like, they have Dell EMC Unity.
Okay.
It's for data storage and management in these hybrid cloud environments.
Yeah.
And Dell Technologies Cloud. It helps businesses manage their IT infrastructure.
Across different clouds, right.
Yeah, public and private.
So it's like, are they saying their own products are bad?
Kind of, right.
They're promoting remote work, but also saying it doesn't work.
It's a mixed message.
Maybe they just haven't thought it through all the way.
Could be.
Or maybe they think customers won't notice.
It's possible.
But it makes you think about their long-term plan,
Definitely.
If they really think in-person is the best, why are they putting so much money into remote work tech?
It's a valid point.
So what, are they going to stop making that stuff?
Maybe, but that seems risky.
Why?
Because everyone wants flexibility now.
Yeah, that's what people were saying on Reddit.
Exactly, like people aren't going to just go back to the old way.
No way, the pandemic changed everything.
It did. It shifted things permanently.
So Dell might be underestimating that.
They might be.
Like they're stuck in the past a little, trying to go back to how things were before.
But the world has moved on.
And companies need to adapt or they'll lose people.
Exactly. The best talent will go elsewhere.
It's like that saying, you can't put toothpaste back in the tube.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's out there.
The genie is out of the bottle.
Remote work is here to stay.
So speaking of those Reddit comments,
Yeah.
we talked about Lemma Station's idea, only working during office hours.
Right. Malicious compliance.
Exactly. Make them see how silly it is.
It can be effective.
And some of those comments were just like pure gold.
Oh, tell me.
Well, someone said they still Skype the person 3 cubicles away.
Oh, come on. Really?
I know, right?
What's the point of even being there?
Exactly. Might as well stay home.
Right.
And then someone else, they were missing their coding in pajamas time.
Uh-huh.
I get it. It's funny, but it shows how important work-life balance is.
Absolutely.
Remote work gave people that.
Freedom and flexibility.
And taking that away, it impacts the whole life.
It's not just about work. It's about well-being.
Right. It's everything.
Dell needs to remember that.
Okay, so it seems like they've created a lot of chaos with this decision.
It's a mess.
We've got the productivity debate, the control issue, the hypocrisy, the risk of losing talent.
And the bigger picture,
What does it all mean for the future of work?
It's the big question.
And there are no easy answers.
Not at all.
But looking at all these different sides
Mm-hmm.
helps us understand what's happening.
And maybe make better choices for ourselves.
Exactly, because there's no one right answer.
It's about finding what works for you.
Well said.
So, listeners, what about you?
Yeah, have you seen companies pushing for a return to the office?
Tell us about it.
This is a conversation that affects all of us.
We're all in this together.
All right, before we wrap up,
Okay.
I have one last question for everyone to think about.
I'm listening.
Dell says they're continually evolving their business.
To serve their customers and partners.
Right, but if faster human interaction is really the key to that evolution,
Like Michael Dell says.
yeah, then what happens to all their remote work technology?
That's the question.
It seems like they're saying one thing,
And doing another.
yet pushing for the office.
But also selling tools for remote work.
It's like they want it both ways.
Maybe they see a future where both exist.
You think?
It's possible. Some things are better in person.
Okay.
Other things you can do remotely.
Like a hybrid model.
Exactly.
But that would require a huge change for Dell.
For sure.
They'd have to stop focusing on just being present in the office.
Presenteeism, they call it.
Presenteeism.
They'd have to focus on what people achieve.
Not just how many hours they're at their desk.
Exactly.
But that's hard for a company like Dell.
Very hard.
They control.
It's in their DNA.
So their employees are skeptical, and I get it.
They're worried this is a step backwards.
Like Dell doesn't get it.
Like they're out of touch.
Yeah. And those concerns are valid.
Very valid.
Dell needs to address them.
Not just talk, but actually do something.
Show they're serious about creating a good work environment.
Where people can be productive and happy.
Maybe they should start by using their own remote work tech more.
Practice what you preach.
Exactly. Lead by example.
To show their employees they trust them.
To get work done, no matter where they are.
And that would get rid of the hypocrisy.
Yeah, people feel like they're being hypocritical.
Saying one thing, doing another.
Actions speak louder, right?
That always.
So what will Dell do?
We'll see.
Only time will tell.
It's a fascinating case study.
It really is.
It makes you think about the future.
Of work.
For everyone, not just Dell.
So to our listeners, what do you think?
What does your ideal work situation look like?
How do we create a future of work that works for everyone?
It's something we all need to think about.
And keep talking about.
Because the future is what we make it.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.